Hello, my amazing learners, and welcome back to the Wisdom English podcast. Today, we're going to tackle one of the biggest, most frustrating obstacles in the English learning journey. It's that moment of hesitation, that inner voice that whispers, "Wait, is that the right word? Is my grammar correct?" It's the habit of overthinking. If you're someone who feels like you have a traffic jam in your head when you try to speak English, then this episode is just for you. We're going to show you how to clear that traffic, silence that inner critic, and transform yourself from an English thinker into an English speaker. So, before we dive into the solutions, let's first understand the problem. Why do so many English learners overthink before they speak? What is stopping them from just talking naturally? I think one of the biggest reasons is the deep-seated fear of making mistakes. So many learners are terrified of looking foolish. They think, what if I say something wrong? Or, what if people laugh at me? This fear can be so paralyzing that it makes them choose silence instead of trying to speak. But let me tell you a little secret. Native speakers make mistakes all the time. We mispronounce words, we use incorrect grammar, we start sentences we can't finish. The difference is, we don't overthink it. We just keep talking. English learners, however, often feel an immense pressure to speak perfectly. They pause, they correct themselves constantly, and in the end, they say very little. And that is a huge problem, because the only way to truly improve your speaking is by, speaking. Another major reason learners overthink is because they are constantly translating from their native language. Instead of forming sentences naturally in English, their brain is doing double the work. First, it thinks in its native language. Then, it tries to translate that thought word for word into English. Of course, this takes time and mental energy. By the time they have the sentence ready, the conversation has already moved on. This makes them feel slow and frustrated, so eventually they just stop trying. And finally, there's the issue of confidence. Some learners feel that their accent isn't good enough or that they don't have a big enough vocabulary, so they just stay quiet. But this silence actually makes the problem worse. The less you speak, the more nervous and anxious you feel about speaking. It becomes a vicious cycle of overthinking, avoiding conversations, and losing confidence. But the good news is, you can break this cycle. You don't need to be perfect to speak English fluently. You just need to be confident and willing to practice. And that is exactly what we are going to help you with today. Now that we understand the problem, let's talk about the solution. Why speaking without thinking too much is the absolute key to fluency. So, why is it so important for you to stop overanalyzing and just start speaking? The main reason is that fluency comes from practice, not from perfection. Speaking a language is a motor skill, much like playing the piano or riding a bike. The more you do it, the faster and more automatic your brain becomes at forming sentences naturally. If you always stop to think about every grammar rule and every vocabulary word before you speak, you'll never develop the speed, rhythm, and confidence you need to sound fluent. Think about how babies learn to talk. They don't sit in a high chair studying grammar books first, do they? Of course not. They just listen, they make sounds, they repeat, and they keep talking, even if they make hundreds of mistakes. "Me want milk" is grammatically incorrect, but it communicates the message perfectly. And over time, through more practice and listening, their speech naturally improves. Adults can, and should, learn the same way. Instead of waiting until you feel your English is perfect, you should speak as much as possible right now, even if you know you'll make mistakes. That is how real fluency develops. I always tell my students, speak first and fix later. If you focus too much on being correct while you're in the middle of a conversation, it slows you down and makes you sound robotic. But if you just focus on communicating your idea and worry about the small mistakes later, you'll sound much more natural and fluent. And here's another important thing to remember. Native speakers generally don't care about your small mistakes. If you can communicate your message clearly, they will understand you. Nobody is judging you as harshly as you are judging yourself. In fact, the more relaxed and natural you are when you speak, the more confident you sound. And believe me, confidence makes people listen to you more than perfect grammar ever will. So now that we understand why thinking less and talking more is the key, let's move on to the most exciting part. Practical tips and exercises to help you stop overthinking and start speaking English with confidence. Practical tips to stop overthinking. All right, let's dive into some powerful, practical tips to help you break the habit of hesitation and just talk. First, one of the most effective ways is to start thinking in English instead of translating from your native language. If you're always translating in your head, you're adding an extra, slow step to the process. But if you train your brain to think directly in English, the words will come out of your mouth much faster and more naturally. A simple way to practice this is to narrate your day in your head in English. For example, if you're making coffee in the morning, you can think to yourself, I am making coffee now. The water is boiling. I am pouring the hot water into my cup. It's a great way to make English a natural part of your daily thought process. Second, you have to give yourself permission to speak without worrying about grammar. Of course, grammar is important for clear communication, but when you are in a live conversation, your primary goal is to communicate your message, not to be 100% grammatically correct. Even if you make a small mistake with a preposition or a verb tense, people will still understand you. If you focus too much on grammar while you're speaking, you will pause constantly, and that will make you feel less confident. But if you just keep talking, your brain will naturally start to correct itself over time as you listen and learn more. Third, a great tip is to practice with yourself. Many learners say, "But Sarah, I don't have a partner to practice with." Guess what? You are your own best practice partner. You can talk to yourself. Stand in front of a mirror and have a conversation, or simply describe what you see around you out loud. This will help you get comfortable with the physical act of speaking English. Next, I want to introduce you to a fantastic technique called shadowing. This means listening to a short clip of a native speaker and immediately trying to repeat what they say at the same time. You should try to copy their exact pronunciation, their rhythm, and their speed. It's one of the fastest ways to improve your fluency and sound more natural in English. You don't even need a teacher for this. Just find a YouTube video, a podcast, or even a scene from a movie and repeat after the speaker. This technique helps you stop thinking so much and just get your mouth used to producing natural English speech patterns. Another very practical tip is to use simple sentences. Many learners hesitate because they try to form long, complicated, impressive sentences in their heads. But it's perfectly okay, and often much better, to use short, simple sentences. For example, instead of trying to say a complex sentence like, I would like to take this opportunity to discuss a matter of significant importance with you. Just say, let's talk about something important. Simple is always better, clearer, and more confident. Next, you must embrace your mistakes. Every mistake you make is a part of the learning process. If you are too scared to make mistakes, you won't speak at all, and that is the biggest mistake of all. Mistakes are proof that you are trying and learning. You should also immerse yourself in English every day. The more you listen to English, the easier it becomes for you to speak without thinking. So listen to English podcasts during your commute, watch movies in English in the evening, and surround yourself with the language as much as possible. The more English your brain hears, the more it absorbs the natural patterns of speech. And finally, set a speaking challenge for yourself. For example, challenge yourself to speak English for 5 minutes every single day without stopping. Even if you don't know a word, don't stop. Just keep talking and find another way to express your idea. The more you push yourself to speak continuously, the more confident you will become. So, to quickly summarize these powerful tips, think in English, don't worry about grammar, practice with yourself, use the shadowing technique, keep your sentences simple, embrace mistakes, immerse yourself in English, and set a daily speaking challenge. If you follow these tips, you will start to notice a real difference in your ability to speak English naturally and without overthinking. The Spontaneous Speaking Challenge. All right, now it's time for a fun and practical exercise. I want to challenge you right now with a spontaneous speaking challenge. This is a great way to train yourself to stop overthinking and just start talking. Here's how this challenge works. I will give you a topic, and you have to speak about it for 30 seconds without stopping. No long pauses, no overthinking, just keep talking. If you don't know a word, describe it in another way. The only goal is to keep the conversation going. First, I think I should show you an example so you can see how it's done. I'm going to take the topic, describe your morning routine, and I'll start the 30-second timer now. Okay, so every morning I wake up at about 7 a.m. The first thing I do is stretch in bed for a minute, and then I always drink a big glass of water. After that, I go to the bathroom to brush my teeth and take a quick shower. Then, I go to the kitchen, and I make a strong cup of coffee, and I usually have something simple for breakfast, like eggs or toast. While I'm eating, I usually check my phone for any important messages, and then I get dressed and prepare for my work for the day. That's my basic morning routine. See? It was smooth and natural. It wasn't perfect, but it was clear and confident. That is the goal. I didn't stop, and I just kept going. Now, it's your turn. Here is your challenge. I will give you 3 topics. I want you to choose one, and as soon as you choose, you must start speaking for 30 seconds without stopping. Don't overthink, just talk. Ready? Here are your topics. 1. Describe your favorite food. 2. Talk about your daily routine. 3. Describe a place you want to visit. Pick one of those topics and start speaking now. 0.30 second pause for your practice. Great job! Even if you struggled a little bit, that's perfectly okay. The more you practice this challenge every day, the easier it will get. Just remember, the goal is to speak, not to be perfect. You'll be amazed at how fast your confidence improves if you do this daily. Shifting your mindset for confidence. Now, we've talked about practical techniques, but there's something even more important that we need to address: your mindset. If you don't believe in yourself, no amount of practice will help you. So, how can you shift your mindset to become a more confident speaker? The first thing you must remember is this: confidence comes from action, not from waiting to feel ready. Many learners think, I will speak when I feel more confident. But the truth is, you will feel confident after you speak, not before. Confidence is a result of taking action, not a requirement for it. So, you have to start talking now, even if you feel scared. Another important mindset shift is to stop aiming for perfection. A lot of learners hesitate because they don't want to make mistakes. But as I said, even native speakers make mistakes. So instead of thinking, I must be perfect, I want you to think, I must communicate. Communication is the goal, not perfection. Speaking of mistakes, you need to change the way you see them. Instead of feeling embarrassed or ashamed when you make a mistake, I want you to see mistakes as proof that you are learning. If you never make mistakes, it simply means you're not pushing yourself enough. Every mistake is a valuable lesson. Next, you have to stop comparing yourself to others. Many learners say, my friend speaks better than me, or I'll never sound like a native speaker. But this kind of comparison is toxic and unhelpful. The only person you should ever compare yourself to is your past self. Are you a little bit better than you were yesterday or last week? If the answer is yes, then you are winning. And finally, you must learn to embrace discomfort. Speaking a new language feels uncomfortable at first. That's normal. But confidence grows when you step out of your comfort zone. It's like going to the gym. The discomfort you feel when you lift weights is what makes your muscles grow stronger. The discomfort you feel when you speak English is what makes your confidence grow. So instead of avoiding English conversations, I want you to jump into them. To summarize these mindset shifts: 1. Confidence comes from action, so speak now, not later. 2. Forget perfection. Focus on communication. 3. See mistakes as proof that you're learning, not failing. 4. Compare yourself only to your past self. 5. And embrace discomfort, because that is where growth happens. If you can change your mindset, speaking English will feel so much easier. Final encouragement. Before we end today's episode, I want to leave you with some final words of encouragement. Learning English is a journey, and sometimes it can feel long and frustrating. But please remember this: every single time you speak, you are improving. Even if you make mistakes, even if you don't sound perfect, you are growing. The most important thing is to keep going. Don't wait for the perfect moment to start speaking. The perfect moment is right now. If you keep waiting, you'll stay in the same place. But if you speak today, even just for a little bit, you will be further ahead tomorrow than you are today. And please, don't let fear stop you. So many learners think, what if people laugh at me? Or, what if I say something wrong? But the truth is, most people will admire you for trying. They will respect your effort. No one is judging you as much as you are judging yourself. I want to say this directly to you, our listeners. You are capable. You are smart enough to learn English. You are strong enough to overcome these challenges. You already have everything you need to succeed. The only thing left to do is to open your mouth and start talking. So, my final message to you is this: believe in yourself, take action every single day, and never stop learning. English fluency is waiting for you. Go get it. We are always here to help. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to practice the spontaneous speaking challenge we did earlier and keep pushing yourself every day. Please like, share, and subscribe to the Wisdom English podcast channel to watch our next videos. Thank you for joining us today, and remember, stop thinking, start talking. See you next time. Keep practicing and stay confident.